Hey guys, week 10, going into week 10, getting ahead of depression. Week 9, our focus was joy. Has specific instructions on learning what joy is, what it means, what it feels like. And of course, when trying to unlearn something, here comes a plethora of other things that try to take away joy, that try to distract you from the task, and all these things just started to flood in. So I haven't really been able to focus on what joy is, but I also know that it's going to be a season. It's going to take a while to really understand and know what that means and what it feels like. So I'm just going to take that day by day. I feel like God gives me different themes every week to focus on. And this last week has been the word change. Typically when I get a specific word, I'll just sit on it for a couple days and just kind of see what comes to mind. I was thinking about the different changes that have happened since week 1. I feel like as the weeks go on, it has been a little harder to be motivated. As I started to reflect on that I recognized the seasonal changes. And when comparing the weeks from week 1, which was end of August, to now, there have been lots of changes that have happened seasonal wise. It's darker earlier. It's rainy, cold, and wet, especially being here in Washington State. That right there is a recipe for disasters, a recipe for depression. So I really had to understand that me not being motivated is not just a me thing. For a minute, I was in my feelings about not sticking to a routine. I was sad. I was feeling disappointed in myself because I wasn't sticking to the routine that I started with. But I realized it's not something personal against myself. It's literally the fact that these next seasons are going to require change. As I reflected on this seasonal changes and how that compares to my healing journey or just my life, I was sitting and I was looking at a tree. And as I'm looking at this tree, I'm thinking about my own journey. Before I had God in my life, I was making choices and decisions based on my own will. And as I was going around and presenting as this big, beautiful tree with branches and flowers that were blossoming, everybody thought I had it together from the outside looking in, I realized that at some point changes started to happen. And when those changes started to happen, I started to experience depression. I even contemplated suicide at one point. And that's even with my kids. I was at one of my lowest points as this big, beautiful tree. But as the seasons continued, my leaves started to change. Those beautiful flowers, those colorful flowers, those vibrant flowers started turning brown. They started turning weak. They started withering. They started to turn colors. They started to change. That was the point in which I started to embrace my relationship more with God, because at that point, there was nothing else for me to do. And so I turned to God in that moment. When you're healing with God, God is going to take you through a season where he's going to strip away everything. And I consider that to be my fall season. Every single leaf fell from my tree and I was exposed. My depression, my brokenness, everything that I didn't know that I needed healing from, my trauma, everything. And then after that fall season, you go into the winter season, where it's the coldest winter ever. What happens to a tree in the winter? The snow falls on it. It's exposed. It has no leaves. If you look at a tree and it's just bare, it's just cold, it's wet, but yet it's still standing. And after that tree goes through the winter season of the coldness, of the wetness, of what feels like brokenness and neglect and all of these different things, then comes spring. What happens in the springtime? All of a sudden, that tree that was cold, that tree that was bare, that tree that was exposed, starts to produce these beautiful flowers, these vibrant flowers. The flowers where everyone is amazed with all the oohs and ahs. When you're healing with God, everyone's going to go through a season, and these seasons are going to require change. God's going to expose everything that needs to be exposed so that he can start to prepare you for the spring. When everything's stripped away, you're going to feel like you're at your lowest. You're going to feel like you don't have nothing. You're going to feel like everything has been taken away that you worked hard for. And then after everything's stripped, you go into that next season of the winter season, where it might seem like the coldest season ever. You don't have nothing, you don't have nobody, you don't have old friends, you ended that relationship, and it's gonna feel like a real cold season. And even though it might be the coldest winter for that tree still stands firmly and continues until the next season and the next process. When spring comes, that tree that everybody once saw that didn't have anything, that was left alone, that was bare, that was exposed, starts to bud these beautiful flowers that might be roses, lilies, sunflowers, I don't know, whatever trees sprout. But anyways, it becomes full. It becomes fruitful. If we think about our journeys with the seasons and the trees, we know what every season requires of a tree. If we're trusting a process for a tree to change with the seasons, let's start trusting the process for ourselves. The fall season, I feel like everything is taken away from me. Even now, fighting through a lot of different changes that are required to make during these seasons, it feels like everything's being stripped. I feel like I'm going to enter one of the coldest seasons ever. But what allows me to hold on is trusting the process and knowing that by spring, God is putting me through a process that is going to allow me to blossom and to bud into this big, full tree. So in these next couple of months, as I continue to be obedient and learn what joy is and sit in joy, I also have to understand this as well. Every season is going to require a change, a new routine. Every season is part of the process to allow God to heal with me. He had to strip me of everything in order to rebuild me. And right now, what might feel like everything being stripped from me through this fall season, I'm trusting the process and knowing that each season will require change. Each season will require obedience, and each season will require for me to trust the process and to hold strong to my faith. And that's where I'm going to find my joy, is knowing that I'm being rebuilt, I am being renewed, I am being restored, but this time with God. So, and we're just going to rock with it. We're going to trust the process. If I know and understand and have faith that the tree outside of my house is going to have flowers, leaves, and be at full bloom in springtime, then I can have that same faith for myself. And so just something for y'all to think about. I love y'all. Bye. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.